Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our webinar, Discover Hidden Talent in Your Organization. My name is Kim Bussey. I'm the Key Relationship Manager here with Omnia. I am going to do a quick audio check. I know that Carrie is also going to be typing, but for those of you who have joined us, at the top of your screen there is an icon of a person with their hand raised. If you can hear me, go ahead and raise your hand. Also, if you agree or disagree with something I say, need me to speak a little louder, speak a little softer, speed up or slow down, you have those icons to let me know. Also, since I can't communicate with you, laughter and applause is always appreciated, so if I say something that you like, wonderful, let me know. Do want to let you know as well that this webinar will be recorded, and also the presentation will be available for downloading at the end of the webinar. If you don't follow us on social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook, please make sure that you sign up for that and check us out. You'll be able to receive those notifications when the recording is ready. So we're going to go ahead and begin. So why are we here? Discover hidden talent in your organization can go a couple of different directions. Maybe you've called in today because you want to find out how to develop your employees. Or maybe you're interested in succession planning. Either way, the objectives and the topics that we're going to talk about as well will tie into that. We're going to be able to talk about how to discover hidden talent and develop your employees. We're also going to talk about the importance of succession planning and whether that succession planning is to replace a leader or a supervisor in 3 to 5 years, or maybe you have someone who's a producer with a book of business and you're wanting to know how to replace them because they're retiring. We're going to talk about some of the key components that are needed in discovering that talent that can take that place, and then also talk about, now that I've found them, what do I do with them? So quick questions before we begin. This webinar will be very interactive, so go ahead and prepare yourself. There's a few questions I want to talk about. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how well does your organization develop employees? And this is anonymous, so go ahead and select if you think 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 8, 9 to 10. Also, the next question is, what is your role within your organization to develop employees? Maybe you're a manager or a supervisor, you work with HR, or you're the owner. And then, if you don't mind sharing, what are some of the things that your organization does to develop the employees? I'm going to give everyone a few moments while you're doing that. You seem to be falling about 40% in that 4 to 6 range, so it's not bad, but developing your employees definitely has some room for improvement. Have a lot of managers, owners, and operators, wonderful, joining us. And then Carolyn shares their organization does training development plans, fellowships, wonderful. Love the monthly learning lunches. That's a great thing. This is really what the webinar that we're having today is based on. A lunch and learn, taking that hour out of the day that's already set aside to develop continuous education. Mentoring, love the idea of special projects to prepare future leaders, Valerie. It gives a safe environment for someone to fail if needed, but you allow them to work with those leaders that are currently in that position to have those projects and to develop them in an environment that's safe and secure. Monthly training, one-on-one time with companies, that's very important, Jess. Love that. We'll take a cut. I see some more people typing, so we will give a few more moments. Love the idea of cross-training as well, Debbie, and that's a key point when you're looking for hidden talent. You may have someone who is an average performer in one position. They're steady, they're not great, but they're not the worst performing employee. But by cross-training, you may find that they are absolutely phenomenal in another position. And for myself personally, I am a huge proponent of making sure that you have the right person in the right position. It's an absolute must. So I see that there's lots of great information. Continuous education, cross-training webinars tend to be a common theme, which is wonderful. So let's talk about what one person says about hidden talent. So Thomas Watson Jr., he was IBM president from 1956 to 1971, actually led IBM during the most explosive growth period that the company has ever had. Fortune magazine once called him the greatest capitalist who ever lived, and he was named one of the 100 most influential people of the 20th century. What he says about development is, I believe the real difference between success and failure in a corporation can be very often traced to the question of how well the organization brings out the great energies and talents of its people. Just want to let that sink in for just one moment. So for those of you that don't know the background of Thomas Watson Jr., very influential man. He actually served as the United States ambassador for Russia for many, many years. But his father, Thomas Watson, was instrumental in organizing and starting IBM. Thomas Watson Jr. grew up in that environment. But when he graduated and became an IBM salesman, he had very little interest in the company. Reading articles and knowing the history is very important of this. And what I learned about him is that while he was an IBM salesman, he had very little interest in the company, very little drive. And it wasn't until he joined the Air Force during World War II, became a pilot, that he began to have people pour into his life, to have that development. For his years growing up, he said that he felt that he was underneath his father's shadow tremendously. Towards the end of his Air Force career, when he was considering becoming a pilot, Major General Bradley suggested that he follow his father at IBM. Very, very happy that he did, because as I said, he was the one that was instrumental in taking IBM into the computer age, to being a leader. One of the things that he discovered is that there wasn't enough training for the employees in investing in their ideas. So for many people that we talk to, we hear a lot that at Omnia, well, we don't have the time or the capital to develop their employees. My reply to that is always, you do not have the time and capital. Payroll employees are your most important asset. They're your most expensive cost on your books. So definitely giving back to them and bringing out those energies and talent is going to be key. One of the first steps to doing that is by having a plan. So some of you may be thinking, plan, what's a plan? Why do I need a plan? Why do we need a plan to find hidden talents? Shouldn't they just automatically appear? And the answer is to that is no. If you do not have a development plan, it's the same thing as not having a strategic plan for your company. Or if I were to say, okay, the first person that makes it to Omnia by 5 o'clock will receive $50,000. You have to stay on the webinar. You can't leave. But for some of you, you may be thinking, well, that's great, but where is Omnia? How do I find it? You haven't really given me the information. You haven't given me the tools to make it there by 5 o'clock. The reason for that is that we do not have $50,000 to give away, but we also don't have a clear plan. I've just spoken without thinking about it. So the first part of discovering a hidden talent in your organization is to have a plan. If you're looking to develop your team into salespeople, into management, you have to understand what that time frame is going to look like. If you're looking at succession planning, then you want to tie in your development plan into your strategic plan. What are the time frames? We have a key person retiring in 3 to 5 years. What are we going to do now to make sure that that position is filled? The components of a successful plan is one that the goals are written down. You have to have something in writing. When it's in writing, it's very easy to refer back to. It's easy to keep the entire team set up on what that plan is. You want to set your time frames. And once again, this is in writing. Once you understand what the goals are for developing your team and what your needs are, once you understand what the time frames that you're looking for, then you can start talking about what your needs are. We need someone who can step into this position tomorrow. I'm looking for someone that I can develop for in the next 3 to 5 years. And then once that's uncovered and once you have that plan set, then you can begin to explore potential employees, their strengths, their challenges. Maybe I have someone who's terrific in where they are, but they show that they're going to college to get an education and a degree in IT. That tells me that that may be where their passion is. That's where their energies lie. So as leaders, we have to understand that and make sure that we factor that into the plan. Another quick question for you is, where do you find your hidden talent? Go ahead and type in where you look for talent, whether it's within the organization or outside. And then what do you look for when you're developing talent? Do you look for past performance? Do you look for potential? Or do you go with your gut? Maybe it's something completely different or none of the above. Go ahead and click which one it is. So Dell looks for hidden talent within the organization. It's key to look within the organization before you look out. But once you have that plan in place, it's going to allow you to evaluate if you can. So John, definitely outside you only have 6 people in the office, which is key. Here's the reason why. One, if you look internally, you have someone who's already bought into the vision of the company. They're engaged. They want to be there. But in the case of John, maybe you have a small office, maybe you have a position where the key requirements that's needed to be successful in that role isn't there. And then you have to look outside. Understanding what your plan is, what your goals are, what the time frame that you're looking for will allow you to understand, do I need to look for inside or outside? And it's very interesting. So about 75% of the attendees today look for potential when they're developing their talent, and that is wonderful. You do want to look at performance a little bit as well. Sometimes past performance is going to be a key indication, but you also don't want to ignore potential. Do they have the traits necessary? Maybe they don't have a skill that can be taught. Understanding that you can't look for one over the other is going to be key. You want to look at both of those things. You want to look at what their performance is and what their potential is to really begin to dive deeper into the talent within your organization. As you dive deeper, then that's when you're going to be able to uncover where their strengths lie. So once you have you know where you're going to look for them, you know what needs and your time frame, then the next thing that you want to do is expand your search. As I said, we talked about looking for potential. We talked about looking for based on performance. We've talked about looking inside and outside of the company. But you also want to expand your search above layers. Think of, as I said, making sure you have the right person in the right position. Perfect example that we have here at Omnia is about 3 years ago. We had an employee who's a lifelong employee, been with us about 15 years now, who worked in our service department, our client advisor, talking with our clients, talking about the profiles, understanding everything. Was successful in that role, but his passion was IT. About 3 years ago, we transitioned him into our IT department, and the growth and development that he has had has been tremendous because he had the potential. But what we didn't know on the side is that he's learning about IT, he's taking classes, so when the position came available, he was there. Understanding that and not capping your search as, I need a salesperson so I can only look within the sales department. Look at outstanding CSRs. Maybe they're doing great at selling. Maybe you have someone who's in an administrative position that would work wonderful for servicing. Absolutely take an eye and look at him. And Tony, Carrie just named him. His name is Tony. He is phenomenal. He would probably kill me for knowing that I talked about him on the webinar, but it'll be our little secret. When you're searching and expanding for that top hidden talent, you also want to keep some do's and don'ts in mind. So you want to look past top performers and titles. A lot of people get caught up in titles. Oh, they're a salesperson, so they must be a good sales manager. Oh, well, they've always worked customer service, so they wouldn't be interested in joining IT or wouldn't be interested in working in sales. Think outside of the box. You also want to review self-evaluations and performance reviews when you're searching for that talent. Self-evaluations are key, and if your company doesn't currently have your employees conduct a self-evaluation or a peer review, I highly recommend it because that will allow your employees to brag on themselves. And as a supervisor, especially if you manage multiple people at one time, you may find that you don't always remember everything that someone does. Or if they are a silent leader, they're not going to come to you and tell you, hey, guess what I did today, Carrie? I closed a sale. It's just part of their normal workplace performance. But when it comes to the time of the performance review and self-evaluations, they are going to begin to speak about it. That's going to help you uncover some strengths and challenges. Also, when you're searching, you don't want to ignore employees taking initiative. Look for those employees who are volunteering. I'll take care of that. That's a special project. I want to be a part of that initiative. Look at what they are volunteering for, and is it consistent? That's a leadership quality that you're looking for. Don't always assume you know what the employee wants for a career path. This is key. What we tend to find here at Omnia is that a lot of times people will say, well, they're successful in their role, so they must want to move up to the next level, especially when it comes to succession planning. They do very well as a customer service rep, so we want to move them up into account manager. Or they do wonderful with cross-selling to existing clients, then they must want to move into sales. Or I have a salesperson who's phenomenal, so they want to be a sales manager. The number one mistake that you can make when you're really looking to develop your team is to assume that you know what they want for a career path. You may have someone who is very comfortable where they are and very successful, and they don't want to move up into management. Maybe they've tried it and found that they didn't like it. Maybe they just want to take care of their own personal performance. But you have to check in with them. Communication is key to discover that talent. In fact, communication is probably the number one component of the plan and any of the other steps that we talk about today. You have to communicate with and talk with those employees. Know who they are, know their strengths, know their challenges, and listen. Create an environment where your employees feel comfortable offering up innovative ideas, possibly even disagreeing with a plan and offering alternative solutions. That's going to give you insight to their thought process. And once again, who's going to be the person who's going to have the potential to take the next level. And of course, you don't ever want to forget the silent leaders. So I want you to take a moment, think about your team. Whether it's within your office, whether it's within your department, is there someone who doesn't have a title that everyone goes to when there's a need? They're the person that whenever there's a new employee, they're taken to and said, do it the way that Carrie does it. She's got it down pat. While you're thinking about this person, let's look at and see if they meet the criteria for a silent leader. Does senior management trust them? Do their peers respect them? Does everyone go to them for advice, questions, processes, and procedures? Does this person that you're thinking about consistently engage people and embodies the company's culture and focus? And do they adapt their personal leadership style to the employee's needs? I know I need to slow down because I'm very fast-paced and multitasking, but the person I'm speaking to is not. They are very process-oriented, so we need to go through one thing at a time. If you're a silent leader and the person that you're thinking about meets those criteria, then you've got a silent leader. Those are the people without the title who care about the company. They're bought into the branding. They're bought into the focus. And they're ambassadors. They're the leadership styles that you're looking for. And understanding that is the first step to uncovering that hidden talent. Most silent leaders are not going to be the ones who will stand up and say, take a look at me and this is what I've done. It's going to take leadership's role to understand and to recognize those people and then begin to initiate the conversation. Have you thought about moving up? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your goals for yourself? Or where do you think the team's objectives should be? Understanding that as a silent and who your silent leaders are going to allow you to begin to develop them. And once again, you have to think of development as not necessarily moving up the corporate ladder. Maybe it's developing them and giving them additional tools to be even more successful in their role. Maybe it's giving them some different motivation that allows them to stay engaged and stay focused. It's very important when you're discovering this hidden talent to understand what your leadership style is and understand the leadership style of the people that you are wanting to develop, especially if it's for succession planning. If you don't understand what your style is, it makes it very difficult to communicate and discover that additional talent. Maybe you're someone who's very logistical, who's very analytical and fact-based, and someone really has to go above and beyond to catch your attention. If that's you and you understand that that's you, you may have to take a step back and say, okay, who consistently does their job? This is a hidden talent for me. Maybe you're that collaborative leader who wants to talk and connect people and understand. That's going to be a key trait for you. But one of the things that you're going to struggle with is telling someone you're not quite ready for that. As you discover the talent that's within your organization, you have to uncover who you are, because to lead them is going to be key. So as you're thinking about that, as you're thinking about leading them, when you develop talent, what is the most crucial ingredient for success? Is it leadership direction, which would come from you? Is it employee drive? Is it neither or both? Go ahead and take a moment. Let me know what you're thinking. So as we have people come in, overwhelmingly, you can continue to vote, but overwhelmingly, by about 84%, it's both. And that's key. What I like to say is that if you have no direction and no employee drive, you're going to receive a poor performance, because the leaders aren't directing the employee where they need to go. The employee has no drive to take that initiative themselves, and so it's going to be either average or below average performance. If you have leadership direction and no drive, you're going to get average performance, and possibly slightly above average performance, because as a leader, you're giving them direction. You're telling them where they need to go. Will that employee take that initiative? Maybe or maybe not. That's when you're giving that direction and you're going to be evaluating, are they in the right position? Maybe we need to change it. But if you have leadership direction and leadership and employee drive, you're going to have that hidden talent within your organization. You're going to have someone who wants to continue to grow, and they have the direction to lead them. So you really need to have both of those. leadership direction and employee drive to continue to grow, both as a leader and also to grow your hidden talent. And I want to let you know as well that as a leader, you either go one or two ways. You either consistently improve or you consistently lose a little bit. So knowing who you are as a leader is going to help you with that hidden talent. For your talent within your organization, as they know what their strengths and challenges are, they're going to be able to continue to grow with what their challenges are and continue to improve it. The first step of developing that talent is that self-awareness piece of it. The next step is you have to inspect what you expect. Had a mentor at a previous employer say this, and for many, many years I was kind of like, well, what does that really mean, inspect what you expect? It goes back to that leadership direction. If you're not analyzing and you're not working with your teams and you're not understanding, are they meeting those expectations that you have for them, you're never going to be able to uncover that hidden talent. As you continue to look, as you're working with them, as you're coaching them, then you're going to be able to uncover that. And whether you're a manager of a department or a manager of one other person, understanding what that is. And it goes back to having that plan. When you know what the goal is, you know what you expect. When you have those time frames, you know when it needs to be met by. So now you can follow up with, are we reaching those goals? Are we on track to hit those time deadlines? How do I develop this talent? Give them formal and informal coaching sessions. Talk with them. If you know that there is a challenge that one of your employees has, but they have the potential to grow, maybe they struggle with closing sales, give them that soft skills training that they need. You want to review their action plans, and you should always have an action plan for yourself personally and also for your team that you manage. Have a development, see where they want to grow. And once again, take their development action plans and your development action plans and always take it back to what the original development plan was. Are we in line with that? And then ask, listen, and implement employee feedback. And some employee feedback you can't implement. We understand that. But if you're going to ask the question, please be prepared to listen to it. And if at all possible, implement it. By listening and asking for feedback, you're going to have one or two different objectives that are met. One, you're going to take the pulse of the team. Are you all going in the same direction at the same time? What happens is that sometimes we see that senior leadership will say, this is the goal. We want to reach $1 million in revenue by the end of the year. It goes to the next level. Okay, so our goal is $1 million, but I don't want to worry my staff, so maybe our stretch goal is $1 million, now we want $750,000. By the time it trickles down to the team, your alignment of the team can be off, especially if that goal isn't communicated consistently and often. And so what may happen is one member of the team may drift in one direction, another member of the team may drift another direction, and it's the same as when your car is out of alignment. When the leaders take their hands off the wheel for just a second, it starts drifting. It's the same thing with your team. So consistently inspecting and sharing what you have is going to be key. And once you inspect what you expect, you can see the results that you're having. Be prepared to correct the course. And once again, sorry I did not mention this, but if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask. We are going to do a Q&A at the end. But this is key about correcting the course. So almost seems counterintuitive to the first step of creating a plan. But you have to be willing to be flexible with that plan. And there are some parts of it that are extremely non-negotiable. But other parts, you have to be willing to be adaptable, not afraid of change. Once again, it's key to listen, listen, listen. It's okay to tell an employee that you've said, okay, you've got this hidden talent. We see this as your strength. I think you will do phenomenal in this role. Let's give you some special projects, which I believe that someone mentioned that they give special projects for future leaders. But maybe they do that special project and the employee discovers, the talent discovers, you know, this isn't quite what I expected it to be, and I want to go a different direction. Or maybe as the leadership you discover this person is not as strong or will be as developed as I think they will be. So we need to go a different direction. So being willing to correct that course is going to be key. You have to create an environment of open communication and respect. With that open communication, you have to listen and ask. But I go back to what Thomas Watson said, is that his plan before Major General Bradley suggested that he go to IBM was to become a pilot, because it was something he was good at. It was something he was comfortable with. It was something that he felt that it worked well for him. But someone that he respected, someone that he had traveled with, someone that he had open lines of communication changed his mind, because they saw the potential in Thomas Watson, not to take what was comfortable, but to take where he would be most successful. And once again, as a leader, as you're discovering this hidden talent, you may have to work with taking someone outside of their comfort zone, understanding where they need to go. You want to celebrate that diversity and collaboration. A team will always have different personalities. It is what makes it successful. If you have everyone who is the exact same, you may miss some key traits. If everyone's big picture and visionary, then they may not be as detail-oriented as you may need them to be. So you want to celebrate that. But I caution you, don't change out of emotion. Frustration, fear. You want to make sure that you're filtering all actions through the plan's ultimate objective. Every time you go to correct the course, take it back to say, how does this fall in line with the original goals? How does this fall in line with the time frame? By understanding that, you're going to filter out that emotion piece, because when you're discovering talent, when you're developing them, that emotion is going to be a piece of it. Once again, you're taking me outside of the comfort zone. I'm a little bit fearful. I've made mistakes. I don't do well with making mistakes. So by being the biggest fan and the most objective is going to be key for you as a leader. So just in conclusion, I know we've got some more time. We're going to have some Q&A at the end, but I want to talk a little bit about, once again, you have to have that plan. You have to know your own skills, strengths, and weaknesses. This is key as a leader. By understanding who you are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, it's going to allow you to begin to filter that through your employees. What do I need on my team that's going to collaborate with me? Who's going to compensate for my challenges and my weaknesses? Know what your employees' skills, strengths, and weaknesses are as well. When you're looking at them, it goes right back to that potential. When you're hiring for potential, being able to understand, what am I looking for? Who do I need? What can I give them to bring them up to the level that I need them to bring? And is it something that's going to be effective? If you have someone that needs to know Excel, then maybe that's a soft skill that you send them to training for. If it's something that they need a 4-year degree in computer science, then that's when you have to look at the potential and pour that into energy. And I noticed that someone earlier when I said, what do you do develop your employees, someone said training stipends. That's a huge thing, but understanding what's important for your company. Also for cross-training, have people operate in their strengths. It's going to be key. So looking at those B players and saying, okay, maybe you're not good at here, but we're going to cross-train you and find some place where you're absolutely fabulous. You have to manage each employee individually. Understand who they are. And it's such a fine line when you're discovering hidden talent, because we all have those employees that we connect with a little bit more. But if we're celebrating diversity and celebrating differences, then we have to understand how to manage that employee. You want to have the same plans, you want to have the same guidelines, but you can tailor that a little bit more individually. You want to put those individuals in roles that are compatible with their preferences. If you have someone who wants to retire in 5 years and doesn't want to be promoted to a management position, don't promote them. And then find alternatives for those that are not performing, but they have that potential for success. Once again, 75% of you said that you hire for potential. That's going to be key to understanding who they are. So we do have some time for some questions and answers. Before we begin, I want to leave you with one last statement by Benjamin Franklin. It says, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And that goes for all levels of business, whether it's our strategic plan, revenue sharing, customer service plan, but even more importantly, it applies to your people development. So if you are not planning to develop them and you don't have something concrete in writing, you're planning to fail. And I will tell you, to fail your employees is going to be the most expensive failure that you may have, because unhappy employees are going to disengage. Disengaged employees can affect revenue, customer service, but they also will begin to leave. So then you're trapped in this constant rehire status that you have. By planning a development tool to find that hidden talent, to give them the tools that are needed, to understand who they are, communicate what that plan is, you're going to open it up for everyone in your community and for your organization to say, this is where we need to go. So, in closing, do you want to go ahead and open it up for Q&A? We've got about 15 minutes, and I know that some people are typing. If you have someone that you're thinking about promoting but hesitating, let me know. Maybe you have a specific issue in your company or a scenario that you want to bring. Please let me know. While you're doing that, I want to tell you of a couple of things. In the resource box, we have offered a great tool. It's called Under Objective, for a check to begin that planning and communication process. And as leaders, I encourage you to do that. I would give it to your team individually and then come together in a team meeting, and at the top it just asks everyone to write what their top 3 objectives for the team are. And then together as a team, you can start picking out what the top 3 objectives are that best suits the team. This will help you in beginning that planning stage and organizing what's our goals, what are our time frames. Also, if you're wondering how do I have an action plan, we do have that employee action plan and leadership development action plan as well as coaching. And within those resources, as Carrie said, we have all of those. Okay. Great question, Melissa. You've promoted someone, but they've come back several times since then stating they can't do their job. What should we do with this situation? Well, my first question would be to ask, why can't they do their job? Understanding, is it fear? Is it a soft skill that they're missing? Is it something that they're experiencing some difficulties with one specific person? I'm definitely starting it off with some conversation. Once you've had that conversation, let's talk about what are the next steps. I can't deal with confrontation and leadership. Is it a soft skill that we can teach them? One of the things that we offer here at Omnia, for those of you who are not aware, is we are a behavioral assessment company. We work with our clients for selection, development, and retention of their employees. And for this particular leader, we have some great leadership styles, so we can tell them what their strengths and challenges are for the leader. But once again, Melissa, I would say let's start off with finding out why they can't do that job. And you may have to dig a little bit deeper. Once you understand that, then if it's something that they've been given the training and they truly can't do it, it's okay to move them to a lateral or even look at putting them into a position that they are better suited for. How long have they been in that position? Six months. Okay. And is it their first leadership position? Yes. Okay. So for someone who is 6 months brand new, first leadership position, especially if you promoted them to lead over their peers, that could cause them some stress. And it's very difficult when someone's promoted to rearrange and transition from a peer-to-peer relationship to a management position. So we can definitely take a look at working at that. And as Carrie said, we are offering, for everyone that has been on our webinar, a free leadership report. You can click on the link above and then just plug in the 07 webinar 2014 to take that free assessment. We will reach out to you, send it to you, and set up a time to talk. But once again, Melissa, I would focus on why is she struggling? And let's have some conversation with that. Once again, any other questions? Melissa, this is great. But whether it's about uncovering talent or talking about it, we also have a great soft skills library. We are launching our Excel IQ. For those of you who have joined us on webinars before, you've heard about it. It's now live, and everyone attending will receive a 5% discount for attending today. So you can check out some of our different soft skills as well. Also, we have some great new business blogs and upcoming free webinars. And anybody else have any questions? This is your time. Want to hear everything that I can help you with or talk with you about? So it doesn't appear that we have any other questions. Once again, look at that resources. You can download that Discover Hidden Talent. You can talk about those development tools, and any of these tools that we offer. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions, either about the presentation or the information that you can download. My telephone number is 1-800-525-7117, extension 1222. And we have some, as I said, great resources. Look at those development action plans. We give you a coaching companion. And once again, we have that Excel IQ that's now live. That is the soft skills library. You can browse it, check out and see what we offer. And don't forget to get your free leadership report. That leadership report will talk to you about what your strengths and challenges are, as well as what motivates you, what demotivates you, but also how you can use that to develop the employees that you're working with. And it looks like we don't have any other questions, so I do want to thank you very much for your time. I hope that you found our webinar beneficial for you today, and thank you for attending it. We will have other ones upcoming as well next week. I do see one other person typing, but if you have any questions, please go ahead and let us know. And if not, thank you so much for spending your lunchtime with us, and I look forward to talking to you again next week or next month. Thank you.